From the tanks.
Right. So from 2:45, when they went missing, you'd have about an hour, say to 3:45, to effect any kind of rescue if they were going to be rescued alive, as far as you were concerned.
Well, could I clarify this a bit?
Yes.
If all 5 survived, then they'll be using 1 bottle each, so they'll have about an hour. But depending on how many survive, the survivors would have a longer time.
Sure.
So, like, if 1 diver had survived, he would have 5 tanks himself.
If he had them.
Yeah, because the others wouldn't be using it.
Right.
At that time, one of the divers had his full gear on him when they were sucked in, which happened to be my son. So if when he had survived, he would have the rest of the tanks.
Right.
So there was a time of an hour at the least. It took probably about 4 hours if 1 diver had survived and had all the bottles.
So if the others were, in fact, had died already inside,
correct.
You were surmising in your own mind that your son would have had his tank on.
Well, at that time, I didn't even know it was my son. I knew it was 1 diver with a tank.
All right. But all I want to try and understand is this, is that you'd said that you thought they would have an hour.
Minimum.
A minimum of an hour, right?
That's if all 5 survived.
I got you. And if not, the maximum might be 5 hours.
With 1, yeah.
Right. The net result of that would have been that you had that window, a maximum window of 5 hours, in order to effect a rescue.
Correct, yeah.
And a minimum of hopefully a minimum of 1 hour.
1 hour, yeah.
So before Mr. Boudram came out, that was the window that you felt was available to you and others, those working at Paria and so on, to effect the rescue.
Correct.
Right, all right. Well, we know already from some of the evidence we've heard what happened in that window. We know already from some of the evidence that we've heard what happened during the course of that window, all right? Yeah. And if I'm right about this, can I understand that by the time, when Mr. Boudram did come out and had explained that there were air pockets, that would have given you hope, obviously.
Well, everybody in the barge.
Of course. And did you have any idea at that stage what would be the time scale? Did you have any idea of the size of potentially this air pocket or any of that information?
No, at that stage you were just going on hope. I mean, I calculated afterwards about 1,500 cubic feet of air. How long that would last at that depth, I really was guessing. Right. So what kept us going is we heard this continuous knocking coming from the pipeline.
Right. So the first thing that happened after your estimate of the time period that they might have of 1 to 5 hours was Mr. Boudram coming out
and giving definite proof of life.
Yeah, exactly, at around 5 o'clock when you were told that. And then whatever air pocket, whatever size air pocket there might have been, did you put again any sort of time scale on what you thought might be the period of time that they might survive?
I didn't really. It was just as urgent as possible to get people in there.
All right, thank you. And lastly this, once you had made the decision, the assumption, that they must have been sucked into the pipeline, you said at about 3:15 or so you'd come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
Did you tell anyone else?
As I said, they were all gathered around me on the barge.
Who's they?
Paria and LMCS people.
Who particularly at Paria?
There would have been, I remember Dobson, as I said in my statement, somebody bought a chair for me to sit down. And there would have been the offshore supervisor. And I'd missed it in that statement, but later on I picked it up. I'd actually spoken to Mr. Piper while I was on the barge. And I'd explained to him that the men were in the pipe.
Before Mr. Boudram came out?
Yeah, that's at 3:20 or 3:25. I got a call from Mr. Piper, and he confirms that in his statement as well. that the men were in there. And if you look at the time at the whiteboard that Paria had in there, Incident Command Office.
Yes.
There's a statement there from the HSC guy, that about 3:48, saying the men had survival was very slim.
Right.
The only reason you would say that is if you consider they were in the pipeline, because we know if people are out in the open sea, they can last a couple of days before you call them off dead. So I'm saying the only reason he would say that is because he heard me saying that the men were in the pipeline.
Just so that I understand it,
Yeah.
whatever the position, whatever they might have believed, whatever the conclusions that officers from Paria might have come to, and we'll hear more about that in due course, so that I'm clear, you told them that it was your belief that they were in the pipeline.
I did.
And you told them that inside the hour or so that was the minimum period of time.
I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Maharaj.
Much obliged, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Ali, I know how difficult this is, and I do sympathize with you, but I'm sure you'd appreciate the exercise we're in. We have to try and get as much information as possible. So I know that you have cooperated with the Commission. You have been interviewed on 2 days. But there's a few questions on an important aspect that I want to ask you some questions on. Okay?
Okay.
And it has to do with the line clearing, because I think the line clearing is very important in the light of the expert evidence, which you know about, the Incotec report. Okay? So before I ask you the question, I just want to refresh your memory from the Incotec report. And that, Mr. Chairman, is at the supplemental core bundle at page 1394. Yeah, 1394.
So are you at the executive summary?
Executive summary.
Right, all right, got it.
And at paragraph 2.3, it says the removal of fuel oil from line and the installation of a migration barrier, as stipulated in Paria's scope of works, etc., created a large gaseous void in sea line SL36. This void served as a prerequisite for the latent differential pressure hazard that was created when the habitat was installed and pressurized to facilitate work within the said habitat. The hazards associated with this were overlooked by both Paria and LMCS, and it's referred to a diagram. Then if I could go to paragraph 2.5. This latent hazard existed at the onset of work within the habitat and became active when the divers were attempting to remove the primary seal inflatable plug from within the riser, and they said to see the drawing. 2.6. Not being aware of this latent differential pressure AP condition, incorporating a gaseous void, LMCS divers proceeded to deflate the plug after safe removal of the mechanical seal. On reaching a deflated pressure of approximately 11.4 psig, the resistive force of the plug was then lower than the downward force 4031 lbf on the plug. And if I take you to paragraph 3 at page 1397, at paragraph 3.1.4, changing the method of oil removal from the line from using an air-driven pump as per LMCS method statement to forced air blowing from berth 5 resulted in a dramatic increase in the risk profile of the job. Okay? Now, in your statement that was referred to, your supplemental written statement that was referred to by Mr. Bisessa, under line clearing, and that is a page in the supplemental witness bundle. It starts at page 2855, but at page 2860, at paragraph 30, you stated that the method of line clearing in the method statements and Paria's instructions for use of air blowing instead of an air pump was to be done in 2 phases. So as I understand it, the removal of the fuel from the line of the contents of the line were done in two phases.
Correct, yeah.
Phase 1 was topside.
Correct.
And topside, according to the evidence you have given, you'll tell me if this is correct. You're saying that you removed 300 barrels from topside.
Well, we estimated 300 in the initial method statement. But then when we started blowing, when we changed the method, we weren't just dealing with 36C line. We actually crossed over to 66C line. So the volume would have changed.
Could you give us an idea?
I couldn't really tell you. 66C line was a 50-inch line, so there would have been product of that as well. And some of that was
So it's
moved.
more than 300 barrels or less than 300?
More than 300 barrels.
So in the method you used to remove the contents from topside,
Yeah.
you didn't use an exact measurement, and you just...
No, the initial 300 barrels was an estimate to start with. But that involved just draining 36C line above sea level. But when we went to this method here, and we went via 66C line, it involved more oil would have been removed than the initial 300. How much it is, I couldn't tell you.
So did you drain sea line 66?
It was used in the clearing, but we didn't drain it. The oil from 36C line was pushed into 66. And then all of the 36 and some of 66 would have been moved into the tank farm.
Sorry, I'm not following this.
I'm a bit confused.
Okay.
I wonder if would a diagram help, or would it be possible for you to draw a diagram, perhaps? Because I am not following this. Line 36 is the one that was supposed to be drained.
Right. So what we did,
Where does 66 come into it?
66 is another line on number 6 berth.
Right. Are they connected?
So we connected 36 to 66
Why?
to displace the oil from 36 into 66 and ashore.
Right. So you were draining one from one to the other,
Well, drain might be the right word, pushed.
pushing the fluid.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call it fluid because we don't know exactly what it was, oil and water mixture, whatever it is, yeah? But you're pushing that fluid from 36 into 66.
Into 66. And then eventually it would end up in a tank ashore.
When you say you're pushing it, I mean,
Well, the air pressure would displace it. It wasn't supposed to be, air wasn't supposed to be blowing through.
right, so we
It
got
would displace, yeah.
36 over here, right? We got 66 over here.
Yeah.
And you're pushing it from one into the
Into
other.
the other.
Right, so you've put in some in-between connection, have you?
Yeah.
And then what? A pump or
No, the air was pushing,
forcing air in at one
forcing the air at number 5, was pushing it all along
end into this one,
into that one.
into 66.
Yeah. And then,
Was 66 empty then?
no, that's full.
So how were you able to push anything from 36 into 66?
So we were pushing from 36 into 66, and the same air pressure would have been felt on 66 and pushing that ashore. But we found out, sorry, are we okay with that one?
No.
No.
I mean, it may be me, and I'm sure Mr. Wilson follows everything you're saying, but I don't, and I need to understand it, please.
Yeah, so we introduced the air at number 5, the riser, 36 riser at number 5 berth.
Right.
Right? So that would pressurize the line. We made a tie-in between 36 and 66 on number 6 berth.
You created this tie, did you?
Yeah, well, it was between Paria and myself.
Right.
We actually put a physical connection between the two.
And that was a temporary thing in order to drain one, or to push air in to
Yeah.
drain the fluid, or push some of the fluid into the other. Is that
Yeah,
right?
that's
so there's a
correct, yeah.
temporary connection between the two.
Temporary
Right,
connection.
I'm understanding that. So where did the fluid then that you were pushing from 36, it goes into 66, where did if that was already full, where did it go?
Well, the end of that was opening to a tank ashore.
Right.
So we push it into the...
So that I'm clear, you got 36 over here, 66 over here. You're pushing the fluid from 36 into 66 in order to create something of a void in 36.
Correct,
Yes? In the process of pushing this fluid into 66, it comes out somewhere else in Paria's
Yeah, in the tank farm.
establishment, yes?
Yeah.
Into a tank.
Correct.
Correct. So is there a way in which you can measure how much you're pushing into this tank?
Yes, they were supposed to measure it at the tank farm.
Who was they?
Paria's tank farm people.
Right, so Paria have some tank people,
Yeah.
and the tank people can measure how much fluid is being pushed through 66
Right.
into the tank. Is that right?
But at the same time, while they were measuring there, our objective was to get an ullage in the riser at number 6.
No, I follow that.
With the
I'm gonna-
space, yeah.
I'm going to come back to that in a minute, if
Yeah.
I may. Or Mr. Maharaj will probably. But all I want to understand is, having made this connection between 36 and 66, and pushing the fluid from 36 into 66, and then from 66 into a tank,
Yeah.
there is a method by which you can measure how much is going into the tank.
Correct.
Did they tell you how much had gone into the tank?
Correct.
Did they tell you?
No.
Thank you.
What's your
And now I understand. Thank you very much.
Okay. Did you ask them?
We asked them,
Did you ask operations
yeah.
how much it was?
we asked operations, and we were getting negligible. Negligible was the
I'm
answer.
sorry?
Negligible was the answer.
Negligible was the answer. All right. That is the top side. Now I come to
Yeah.
the phase 2,
Yeah.
which was the underwater between bird 5 and bird 6.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So as far as you have told, well, in your evidence, tell me if I'm correct, you were only interested, as you said, in getting an ullage of about, I think you said 35?
30 feet. I think it's 30 feet. I
feet.
can't remember. Yeah.
But about how much oil that would have been?
1 foot of 30-inch pipe is approximately a barrel.
Barrel.
So 30 feet would be 30 barrels.
30 barrel. So, yeah. So, according to you, Mr. Ali,
Yeah.
as far as you are concerned, that in respect of the underwater piping between bird 5 and bird 6, only 30 feet of oil was removed.
All right. At number 36, sea line has 2 risers. All right. When we finished with the first phase,
No, if you could just keep it at bird, I'm talking about this job,
yeah.
right?
One.
So if you,
Okay.
if you could help us.
After we removed 30 barrels of oil,
Yes.
we still didn't reach the 30-foot ullage.
You still did not reach your 30-foot ullage.
Yeah.
But the point is that according to you, as far as you're concerned, you removed 30 barrels or 60 barrels?
About 60 barrels, about
About
2.5.
60 barrels.
Again, we didn't measure it. We were measuring the ullage,
All right.
not the amount of oil.
So as far as LMCS evidence is concerned from you,
yeah.
from the underwater piping between bird 5 and bird 6, only about 60 barrels of oil were removed.
Correct.
And that evidence is true,
That-
okay?
It is, yeah.
Now, in your witness statement, you said that the method of clearing the lines were changed with the approval of Paria.
Correct.
It was to be air pumping, and then now they changed to air blowing,
Correct. Yeah.
correct? So you were blowing air into this line.
Correct.
Now, I want to, before I refer you to the records of Paria as to how much oil was taken out of that line, the underwater line. Okay. In your witness statement, at paragraph 42, you said the line clearing was done in January 2022. 2862. Sorry, page 2862. Over a period of 2 weeks. Am I correct?
Correct, yeah.
Correct. And you said it was not a continuous work, but it was done over a period of 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then at paragraph 43, you mentioned about the change in technique from air pump to air blowing. And then you said at paragraph 44, everything being equal, I knew that once there was liquid in the riser directly under the plug, then the horizontal section of the pipe should have been full, and the riser at berth 5 would have an ullage equivalent to that of the riser at berth 6. Once this was achieved, there was no chance of any differential pressure.
Correct. Yeah.
So am I correct in saying that your conclusion at paragraph 44 was based on your assumption that sea line, the underwater line, had
full.
fuel? It was full.
It was full, yeah.
Yeah. But you did not take any measurement or any test to determine whether the line was full?
No, the only test we did was we checked the ullage at the riser at number 6.
But when you checked the ullage at riser number 6,
yeah,
you didn't know if there was air on any there or more oil.
You couldn't tell it. In the riser there was oil.
Oh. And you checked that with your naked eyes?
With naked eye and with a tape.
And with a tape. And at paragraph 45, you said, we therefore did not discuss the possibility of a differential pressure in the method statement or the risk assessment because the steps we took should have eliminated this.
Correct, yeah.
Now, you base that opinion, you base that assessment on the basis that you assumed that the pipe was full. The underwater pipe was full.
Correct.
Correct. Now, so you recognize, Mr. Ali, that there could have been a risk of a differential pressure if the underwater pipe was not full.
Correct.
Correct. But from what I saw in the documents, nowhere in the risk assessment which was done for this job, differential pressure was mentioned. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the scope of works, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the job safety analysis, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
Nowhere in the notice to permit the work, I saw that. Am I correct?
Correct.
But you are telling us today that you knew that there was such a risk, but you thought it was eliminated because you assumed that there was liquid content in the underwater piping.
Correct, yeah.
Now, if I want to show you, I want to refer to you some of the records from Paria daily work reports to show that for the underwater piping, there was over 500 barrels of oil taken out from the underwater piping. Would that surprise you?
It would.
It would surprise you. And you would agree with me that if that was taken out, that was a potential differential pressure situation. Not so?
Yep.
Yes. So can we go, Mr. Chairman, to core bundle 2?
Thank you. Just so to remind us, the formula that you gave us before, 500 barrels of oil represents about 500 feet of cleared pipe.
Yeah.
That's what it would represent, isn't it?
Well, if it was vertical.
Yes. Well, all things, whatever, I mean, it represents linearly or vertically. If it were possible to do that, that's the length of pipe that we're talking about. Right, thank you.
I am going to start at page 994, core bundle 2. .994, my lord.
994. Correct.
Okay. You saw it, Mr. Ali? You have it there before you? Yeah. You're seeing 994?
Yeah,
right?
I am.
Okay. Now I'm going to go through the daily reports and show you the quantity of oil, right? Now, if you look at number 3, under mechanical, and you look across, you see description, and then you see job status. And you see air blowing, and then you see ongoing air blowing started at 12:22 p.m. due to operation setting up to drain the tank, and air blowed until 1800 hours. A total of 798 barrels of oil was drained tank. Would that be phase 1? That look as if it was phase 1, right? That is top side. So let's go to page 997. At number 3, mechanical, description, SL36 riser renewal, air blowing contents, 36 from berth 5 to 6, ongoing air blowing started 11 a.m. due to installation of SIP plant, and air blowed until 5:30 p.m. A total of 118 barrels of oil was drained. You see that?
Yep.
Is this top side or?
This is top side.
Top side still.
Now, I saw in your witness statement you said you personally supervise the line operation, the line clearing operation.
Well, the final pictures. Yeah.
Okay. So let's continue, Mr. Ali. Let's go to page 1002. Is that correct? Yeah, 10. Oh, sorry. I should look at 1001. Yeah. Which one? Yes, sorry. Number 1. Completed. Remove topside piping and solid blank top end going towards berth. So that is the top side was completed. Correct?
Correct.
And they started phase 2. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Then we go to 1002. You see number 1, completed 2 lengths of 6.30 hose together with length 6.45, etc. Riser to assist with phase 2 air blowing. So it shows air blowing has started. And then you go to number 4.
Correct.
Level was checked and pipe estimated to be 3/4 full with oil content. You see that?
I saw that. Yeah.
Right. Then we go to 1003. 2nd February, mechanical, number 1, phase 2 air blowing, description. Air blowing was conducted between 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. Onshore noted that they received 276 barrels of oil. Started air blowing 11 a.m. due to lining up of tanks and waiting for pressure to build up. You see that?
I do.
Huh?
Yep.
Yes. Then you go to number 5. draining contents of SL36 into slop barge, connect hose, etc., etc. 2 slop barge was filled approximately 100 barrels of oil. See that?
I see that, yeah.
Mr. Ali, that's much more than 60 barrels, am I correct?
A lot more.
Yes. Then we go to page 1004. On the 3rd of February, number 1, phase 2, air blowing description. Air blowing was conducted between 1300 hours to 1500 hours. Onshore noted that they received 55 barrels of oil. Note stated air blowing 1300 hours due to waiting onshore, etc., etc. And then we go to number 5. Well, number 4 and number 5. Level was checked at number 4 after draining, and oil content was approximately 8 feet. 8 feet below T on riser. What that means?
So this is not my report.
No. But do you know what 8 feet on T riser means? In the oil industry, in your business, what it means?
Like I said, this is not my report.
I know.
The figures here are all over the place. But item 4 there will confirm what I was saying all the time. When we measure the ullage, he's saying 8 feet here below the T. The T was the top of the riser. So if you measure down from the top of the riser, the oil was 8 feet below the T.
Below the T.
Below the T. The T was at the top of the riser.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I see he goes on to say 2 barrels full, approximately 100 barrels. Well, a barrel full was 25 barrels. Not
okay, but it says so 100 barrels.
Yeah, but he's estimating from whoever is
okay.
2 barrels full. But
okay. And then we go to page 1005.
No, hang on a second. 2 slot barges, you say represents
about
25
50
each
barrels.
barge, so that would be
About 50 barrels.
50, not 100. But
Not
whoever's
100,
put this down has got that wrong, you think?
Yeah, sorry.
Whoever's written down 100 barrels has got it wrong.
Well,
It
he's
should
making
be
a wrong
50.
estimate, yeah.
Yes.
It can't be 2 barrels full and 100 barrels of the same.
But they might have got the number of slot barges wrong rather than the number of barrels.
Well, I think we said we put out 2.5 slot barrels full.
Right.
In my statement.
Do we need a break now then? I'm afraid we're going to need to take a short break. I was hoping to finish this bit, but we can't, I'm afraid. So, such is life. We're going to have to break off just for 10 minutes, all right? Normally we have a longer break.
We don't want to finish this little item here.
Apparently not. So we will have to take the break now, all right? And so as not to embarrass anyone, go. Right? Oh, sorry, I have, right? Forgive me.
Oh, well.
Yes, please, if you'll go with it.
There's a call to the nation. One by one, let's do it together. Let's be the change we want to see. Standing strong through any weather. Follow the light of the PEP. Cause we could build a better place for every creed and every race. Together we could triumph over anything we face. So one by one, 2 by 2, the PEP, we're here for you. Bit by bit, one people under one flag. So come on, let me fix it. We go fix it. Build a better TNT. Build a we go fix it. We go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. Come on, let me fix it. We go fix it. It's time for a change indeed. Build a we go fix it. We go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. for our children. So one by one, two by two, the PEP will care for you. Bit by bit, let's build a better TNT. So come on, let me fix it, we go fix it. Build a better TNT. Build a we go fix it, we go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. Come on, let me fix it, we go fix it. It's time for a change indeed. Build a we go fix it, we go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. So one by one, two by two, the PEP we're here for you. Bit by bit, one people under one flag. So come on, let me fix it, we go fix it. Build a better TNT. Build a we go fix it, we go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. Come on, let me fix it, we go fix it. It's time for a change indeed. Build a we go fix it, we go fix it. Because we vote in PEP. Vote PEP. This is a call to the nation. One by one, let's do it together. Let's be the change we want to see. Standing strong through any weather. Follow the light of the PEP. Cause we could build a better place for every creed and every race. Together we